Good morning, everybody. I was going through some news stories here. The dominant news story is the ICE raids happening across the U.S. and the protest. Apparently there was a major Iran protest in Los Angeles that a U-Haul truck was rented and driven through. That's another one. If you decide you want to go out to these protests, I wouldn't advise it, but if you do, then that seems to be the majority of the major weapon right now is these cars being driven through the middle of them. Amid Trump threats, this comes from the Israel Times. Iran is ready for fair negotiations. It's not seeking war, but it is ready. Trump, U.S. military looking for very strong options on Iran. Tehran, which is the capital, wants to negotiate. We don't need them. We don't like them. Trump says MAGA has no room for anti-Semites. Means anti-Jerusalem people, if you don't know what that means. Masses gather in London, Paris, Istanbul to support Israel's anti-regime protest. There's been massive protests in Iran against their government. In the late 70s, we installed the government that was there because there was massive protest. Now we are trying a regime change there and put back in the people we took out of power in the 70s. Hamas tells Gaza agencies to prepare to secede power. As part of a truce plan, terror group spokesman says it will hand over all authorities in Gaza to independent Palestinian technocratic committee, whose makeup has not yet been announced. I did see something the other day that they said that the majority of the war in the Gaza Strip was run by an AI. That's where they were getting a lot of their tactical news from, so to speak, or tactical news is about as good as I can come up with now. As Iran protests grow, Israel watches closely but refers to remain on the sidelines. Ex-intel officer says Jerusalem unlikely to strike first, as it would risk weakening demonstrations. Hebrew expert says Iranian instigation will be suicide note for the regime. And by all rights, those people are severely oppressed. Probably akin to North Korea, which I'm surprised they haven't tried a regime change there yet. But I don't think he's enough of a threat at this point to try something like that. China ready to move its J-35 stealth jet fighter into mass production. Yeah, these protests in Iran are massive, massive, massive protests. That is kind of dominating the headlines as the ICE protest. There was a massive one yesterday in Minneapolis. They are calling ICE the Gestapo or the SS for Trump. It's what a lot of people have on their signs. ICE arrests an illegal person in Minnesota. And Minnesota apparently was a sanctuary city, so it's a hotbed for the people running there, and they are targeting a lot of the quote unquote sanctuary cities and sanctuary states because that's apparently where the majority of these people are. Here's the Treasury Department's plan to take down the Somalia fraud rings based on the daycare system, which apparently in Minneapolis they had billions of dollars that they were getting government assistance for running these daycares, and there was nothing there. So my question is, who in the world was in charge of that? This comes from Zero Hedge. White House amplifies shocking claims of U.S. super soldiers deployed in Maduro raid. White House spokeslady Caroline Leavitt amplified claims about American Special Forces super soldiers deployed advanced weaponry during extraction phase of Nicolas Maduro. On the day of the operation, we didn't hear anything coming. We were on guard, but suddenly all of our radio systems shut down without explanation. Next thing we know, we saw drones, a lot of drones flying over positions. We didn't know how to react. That comes from a security guard. Maduro's compound described by happening when Delta Force operators descended from helicopters in pitch black conditions. This account was originally posted on X. Here's a full account of the security guard reason Venezuela forces were unable to comprehend the modern battlefield with drones, sonic weapons, and we're sure insane helmet-mounted optics with AI just made an unlevel playing field in which the guard said, "We were hundreds but had no chance. They were shooting with such precision and speed it seemed like soldiers were firing 300 rounds a minute." You have to understand something. Delta Force, from my understanding, are the people that did this. These guys are highly trained. I mean, that's what they do, and they just don't take anybody. So to them, they probably did look like super soldiers. However, the reports say that one of the helicopters was hit. 2 U.S. officials said that about half dozen soldiers were injured in the overall operation. And I'm sure they did have some type of AI readout on helmets or glasses, or because middle of the night they were all wearing night vision stuff. And whatever we have on the civilian market is going to be amplified tenfold by what they have in the military market. It's always been that way. All right, let's pick up on our 101 things God can't do. I think we left off on number 4. Oh, thank you, honey. God can't despise a contrite heart. This comes from Psalms 51:17. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O God, thou wilt not despise. 6. God can't allow his people to be ashamed, and you should eat in plenty and be satisfied, and praise the name of the Lord your God, that hath dwelt wondrously with you, and my people shall never be ashamed. That comes from Joel 2:26. Isaiah 42:8. I am the Lord, that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. God can't give his glory to anyone else. People make these images and then they worship the image. That's a graven image. People can't sleep. Behold, that hath Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. God can't sleep. Psalms 121:4. And our last one, God can't stop loving you. I have loved within an everlasting love. Well, I have loved thee with an everlasting love. Therefore, with loving kindness have I drawn thee. Jeremiah 31:3. We talk about this stuff in the news. We talk about the different things going on. But we always have to remember, and here's the hard thing to people for people to remember and comprehend. Whatever we see, whatever's going on, no matter what it is, it's part of whatever God wants to happen. You know, all this stuff is going to come to fruition because that's what God needs to happen. God is moving us in a direction. He's moving the entire world, good, bad, ugly, in that direction. And it's for his purpose and his purpose alone. And at this point, is for his purpose of the second advent of Jesus. There's no third, there's no fourth, there's no fifth. There were two when he was born. There was one when he was born, and there's two when he descends from heaven. That's it. I also saw this the other day, and it went along with what we were talking about the other morning. There are over, where was it? 47,000 there were an estimated 45 to 47,000 different sects of the Christian religion in the world. There were 2 to 4, they estimated a little over 2,000 different sects of the Christian religion in America alone. Some estimates were higher than that. And I struggle with that, knowing that we read the Bible, it's pretty clear in most cases. And I say that because I am in the book of 1 Kings now. I'm also in the book of Romans. I finished up chapter 9 last night in the book of Romans. In the first 8 chapters, the first 9 chapters, Paul is talking about why are we still living under the law? The law can point out sin, but it can't save you. It just tells you what you're doing wrong. It doesn't save you or do anything. It just says, hey, you're not supposed to do this. And Paul's constantly in his writing saying, why are we doing this? Why are we returning back to the law when we have grace? Jesus died for us. He fulfilled the law. He was the only perfect fulfillment of the law. So why are we turning back to it? But you have a ton of religions. And he plainly says it. I mean, it's not a euphemism. It's not a let me go back around and try to decipher what he said. It's none of that. He plainly says it. at the end of chapter 8 or chapter 9, he plainly says, the law is dead. Why are we messing with this? You are under grace. We are under grace. In Acts chapter 10, and you know the food is a huge part of the law. You can't eat this, can't eat this, can't eat this, can you only eat this on certain days and blah and whatever. But in Acts chapter 10, Peter has a vision where God plainly tells him, everything I made is right. If you want to eat it, eat it. Just give thanks for it. James in chapter 2 says we should be thankful for all manner of meat. So, and my point behind all that is, you have all these different religious sects when the Bible is very clear. There's only one, Jesus. That was it. It was never any more than that. We have confounded, construed, twisted, turned, whatever you want to do. And remember, I mean, you got these guys that are snake handlers, and they're part of a Christian religion because they believe in Jesus, they believe in a resurrection, but they're up there handling snakes, all because of one verse that said we can tread on serpents, and you build an entire religious sect around that. I've said this on here before, and I've said this about anybody you listen to. I don't care who it is. Does not matter who it is. If they say something to you and it sounds wonky, or you want to confirm what they're saying, you go pick up the Bible and you read it for yourself. Pray that God will give you the understanding. Pray that God will give you the clarity for it, and you start reading it, because that's the only way you're ever going to know the answer. Get to know the voice of God. That's our daily devotional for today. God wants us to know that no matter how difficult things get for us, He will sustain all who trust Him. He does. How does He do this? By the power of His still small voice speaking in our internal man. This is the confirmed by the prophet Isaiah. Your ears shall hear a word being said. This is the way, walk in it. Whenever you turn to the right, whenever you turn to the left. That comes from Isaiah 30:21. Isaiah delivered this word to Israel in a very worst of times. The nation was under judgment, in absolute ruin, with everything breaking down. Isaiah told Israel's leaders, turn to the Lord now. He wants to give you a word of direction. To go this way, go that way, here is the way. But they would not listen. They decided to turn to Egypt to find help in being delivered. They thought they could rely on the Egyptians' chariots, horses, and supplies to see them through. God did not send judgment on Israel at that point. Rather, He decided to wait patiently until the bottom fell out of every plan. He said, while they're running around scheming how to survive, I will wait. I want to show them my mercy in spite of their wickedness. See verse 18. That comes from Isaiah 18. Sure enough, things only got worse for the nation. Finally, when all their schemes had fallen through, God told the people, now, let me take over. I know the way out. I will direct you and deliver you. I will lead you with my voice, speaking to you, telling you what to do down to the last detail. It is vitally important that you know the voice of God. He made it clear. My sheep know my voice. There are many voices in the world today, loud, demanding, but there is still a small voice of the Lord that can be known and heard only by those who trust what Jesus said. Which is what we were just talking about. over 2,000 different religious sects of the Christian religion in America alone. 45 to 47,000 different Christian religions in the world. And they all come from the same book. They all come from the same writing. And now you have clearly not listening to what's being said. But if you truly want to listen to what's being said, and this is our teaching for the day, and I say it constantly, if somebody says something to you that doesn't sound right, you're like, part of that is discernment too, because if they say it and it doesn't sound right, that's God giving you his voice going, you might want to go check what was just said. And that comes from me, that comes from anybody. I don't care who it is. It doesn't matter who it is. That's why I always try to give you verse and chapter, or at least book and chapter. Go find it. Go read it for yourself. Because that's the only true way you're ever going to know. I'm going to jump off of here. Y'all have a great day. Keep your head on a swivel. A lot of craziness. Keep your head on a swivel. Go pray, prep, and train something today. Talk to you later.